Ting-a-ling-a-ling, school bell a ring. Yes, it's almost to the end of August, and for you students watching, summer is up. In this Tuesday's edition of Jamaica Magazine, we have a fulsome discussion with education stakeholders on their preparedness for the school year, among other matters. You'll want to stick around for that. I'm Adrian Atkinson, and the package unfolds right now.
We have championed e-learning in Jamaica, provided state-of-the-art technology in over 200 educational institutions, developed materials for CSEC, piloted the Tablets in Schools project in 38 schools, including infant and primary, and trained thousands of teachers in technology integration. We are eLearning Jamaica Company Limited, ELJAM, an agency of the Ministry of Science, Energy and Technology. Visit our website, www.elearnja.org.
Good day, I'm Lorraine Mendez and this is your JIS News for Tuesday, August 30. A government member is urging police and citizens to work together to bring to justice those involved in the murder of 2-year-old Damario White. Damario was shot in the head by gunmen in downtown Kingston on August 23.
I encourage the police to leave no stone unturned to ensure that the perpetrators of such a vicious act are brought to justice. And I encourage the community to tell what they know. We should ensure that anyone who harms our children recognize that they have no place to hide in this country of ours. That must be our solemn commitment.
The Education State Minister was speaking at the Early Childhood Commission Certification Fair held at the Carl Hendricks Auditorium on Friday. The Commission expects to target 100 early childhood institutions for certification over the next 12 months. Small resort operators in Treasure Beach, St. Elizabeth now have access to a $20 million loan facility to upgrade their offerings. Beneficiaries can access up to $2 million each. It's being financed by the Tourism Enhancement Fund and administered by Jamaica National Small Business Loans. At the recent launch of the Community Tourism Loan Facility Program, Tourism Minister Edmund Bartlett said Treasure Beach contributed $82.4 million to the $2.6 billion made by the country.
I'm fully cognizant of the role that Treasure Beach has played in the building out of tourism in Jamaica over the years, and indeed in terms of the contribution in dollar terms that you have made to the foreign exchange generation in this country.
The provision is part of the Ministry's National Community Tourism Policy and Strategy. The policy aims to diversify Jamaica's resorts and product offerings by facilitating tourism development at the community level. The country's adult literacy rate is now at 87%. That's according to the Jamaican Foundation for Lifelong Learning, JFLL, which says the figure is a major improvement from 50% in 1974. Despite the improvement, the JFLL says it will be implementing further measures to expand its offerings as Jamaica is still lagging behind its Caribbean neighbors.
We're of the view at the foundation that education is not just about the ABC and the 1, 2, 3. It is about life chances. It is about equipping adults, equipping their families, equipping themselves in their communities and in their workplace to be able to make effective decisions that will impact on their lives.
Deputy Executive Director Dr. Grace Camille Monroe was speaking at a recent JIS think tank session. She said the foundation had revised its 40-year-old curriculum, modernized its instructional material, and retooled its offices to meet the changing needs of its clients. The JFLL, originally called JAMAL, has 34 centers island-wide, providing the opportunity for a second chance to adult learners. And finally, 92% of children at the early childhood level have met the required learning development, while the other 8% are within the international standard. Education Minister Senator Ruel Reid made the disclosure following the implementation of the National Age for School Readiness Assessment launched earlier this year.
Generally, 92% of all our children are very normal, pregnant with possibilities in terms of filling their minds with education and training. And therefore, my target is ensure that I have the teachers and the resources that enable us to maximize their full potential.
The Age 4 assessment is done by teachers to determine the readiness of 4-year-old children to transition to the primary school system. The minister was speaking at the recently held 190th J. Ray and Nephew Foundation Scholarship Award ceremony. Over 100 Jamaican families are this year benefiting from $10 million in scholarships and bursaries from the foundation. An additional 85 secondary and 37 tertiary students received book vouchers and back-to-school kits at the awards ceremony. And that's it for JIS News today. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Thanks for watching. 7 new BPO projects on the way, 1,200 land titles in 7 months, and October delivery date for Anti-Crime Action Plan. You're watching Jamaica House Weekly. I'm Lorraine Mendez. Prime Minister Andrew Holness says 7 new BPO projects are in the works for later this year into early 2017, bringing new jobs for Jamaicans. The Prime Minister says government will also be implementing a reform of the labour market, which will start in the public sector. He says it will include reallocating human resource from the public sector to the private sector, where they'll be able to contribute more to national development.
We as government in the public sector must look at our own business processes and re-engineer them so that they are more efficient, so that they can release the labor that is in the public sector to the private sector, where their contributions can be greater for the country.
Mr. Holness was speaking Thursday as he broke ground for a 65-square-foot BPO space at the Montego Bay Free Zone. The Prime Minister used his time in the second city to tour BPO spaces at the Barnett Tech Park and the Kazumar Free Zone. Word came last week that the National Security Council NSC was formulating a strategic anti-crime action plan to be delivered by October 2016. The plan will focus on a wide range of interrelated areas to tackle violent crime, crimes involving the use of firearms, and lottery scamming. Actions should include increasing security personnel, enhancing the police's mobility and bases of operation, and boosting the investigative, prosecutorial, and legislative systems to deal with crime. In addition to monthly meetings to fast-track strategies, consultations and deliberations are being undertaken to complete the plan for its submission to Cabinet. The National Security Council is made up of Cabinet members, the Attorney General, the JDF Chief of Defence Staff, and the Commissioner of Police. On Tuesday, Prime Minister Andrew Holness issued 220 land titles to Jamaicans from across the island. They are among 1,200 persons who will be receiving their land titles in the next 7 months under a $90 million LAMP DBJ Memorandum of Understanding.
We are seeking to empower all Jamaicans with a renewed sense of ownership and pride in Jamaica by ensuring that each person has a title for their land. We want every Jamaica to have a vested interest in building Jamaica, land we love.
And to ensure increased access to lands, Prime Minister Holness says a draft bill is being finalized to amend the Registration of Titles, Cadastral Mapping and Tenure Clarification Special Provisions Act. This should strengthen the work of LAMP's adjudication committees to take into account how Jamaicans give, buy and sell land culturally.
LAMP will continue its mandate to conduct cadastral mapping, tenure clarification and regularization in project areas, and subsequently reduce the number of unregistered parcels of land, thereby bringing them into the formal sector. We understand the cost of education, but we also understand the cost of ignorance. The education system has to be flexible. It has to fit the needs of the students and not the students to fit the education system.
And Prime Minister Andrew Holness has recommitted his government to ensuring that all Jamaican children have quality tuition-free access to secondary education. He was speaking last Wednesday at a GSET Awards ceremony for children of staff from the offices of the Prime Minister and Cabinet. Mr. Holness said emphasis would be placed on instilling Jamaican-centered values and attitudes in schools to combat outside influence.
We have to strengthen our value system so that our students can place the bombardment of information that they will receive in context, so that they can become better individuals with strong characters to withstand the turbulence of the world in which we live.
And right in time for back to school, the Prime Minister held a treat for children at the Olympic Garden Civic Centre in St. Andrew. Over 100 children turned up with their parents and guardians to go on rides and get free health checkups. The Prime Minister also showed his support for other back-to-school initiatives. On Sunday, he was in Portmore for Flow School Aid, where 30,000 school supplies were issued to children. They were also treated to free dental and medical checkups as well as free haircuts. And the Italian people were also on Prime Minister Holness's mind last week. He expressed Jamaica's deepest sympathies in the wake of a devastating 5.5 magnitude earthquake, which struck central Italy, killing at least 290 persons. Mr. Holness also wished for a speedy recovery. And that's it for Jamaica House Weekly. Be sure to join us next time for more news coming out of the office of the Prime Minister.
With the 2016-2017 academic year upon us, students, educators and parents are doing final preparations for another successful year. We sat down with some officials and stakeholders to engage them on a number of issues. That's next.
Welcome to this GIS special on education, where we'll be dealing with issues having to do with back-to-school preparations, parent contributions, parental involvement in education, issues to do with educational policy, among other things. I'm Ian Boyne. We have a distinguished group of panelists headed by Minister of Education, Youth and Information, Senator the Honorable Royal Reid, Chief Education Officer in the ministry, and in that ministry, Dr. Grace McLean, President of the National Parent Teachers Association, Everton Hanam, Principal of the Spanish Town High School, Bentley Brown, and immediate past President of Jonathan Grant High School, Rosemary Headley Smith. You're in for a most interesting discussion on the issues that you want answers to. But before that, we want to see how Jamaicans have been preparing for back to school.
It's a little bit hectic, you know, back to school, you have to prepare for them. You understand me? So the cost for the things are a little bit up. Could be a little bit more down. Understand me? But we're getting there.
Do my preparation like from in April of this year, so it's not that heavy or strain on me at this moment.
Books are expensive, and which cost me very high. Yes, but you have to try our best and see what you can do for the children's future.
Back to school is hard, and when you go into the bookstore, the book is so high.
I already prepared. I don't wait till the last time for rush it like everybody are rushing now. Because what people do is wait till the last time everybody you go downtown full, books sold out and things. So you have to plan ahead of time.
Welcome back. That's how Jamaicans are preparing. How is the government preparing for back to school? We have the Minister with responsibility for education here. Minister, the government's own preparation for back to school. How will children and parents face that first school day in September?
Well, Ian, thanks for having me, and certainly greetings to your listeners. The government, along with the team we have at the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information, has been preparing for some time for the start of the new academic year. And we have had a number of preparatory meetings with a number of our team leaders to look at different aspects of what needs to happen in terms of what we're doing in terms of curriculum changes, the national standards curriculum that we have enunciated. The infrastructure program, as you know, we have spoken quite a bit on a number of initiatives we are implementing from secondary, primary, at the early childhood levels, including some aspect of the tertiary level. We have, and I'm sure you're going to be speaking to that in terms of how do we ensure that schools have adequate resources to prepare themselves so they can do their routine maintenance and have the plan ready for the students for the beginning of the new school year. The matter of school furniture is one that readily comes to mind, and the team is on task to facilitate some of our schools that have the resources to do their own procurement and repairs that they, particularly at the secondary level, that they will be able to do.
You're expecting some shortfall in that area?
No,
some challenge?
No, I think we have anticipated it, and as I'm saying that, again, because we were able to provide, for example, the secondary system, a lot of the resources that normally the government would have provided in the middle of August. The secondary school got those resources, $1.4 billion for the first time in history, very early as the middle of June. So from all accounts, when we have done our checks, high schools have been well prepared this year than they've ever been before in terms of back to school. The rental books and all the other books that are required at the primary level, those have been procured. Those are going to be delivered starting next week as per schedule. So the issue of personnel, appointment of principals and other senior staff, those have been taking place in earnest. We had a little delay because of the change over in terms of the Teachers Service Commission, but additional meetings were held, and we have processed many of those appointments to have the new principals in place for September. We are ready as we can be to face the new school year.
Chief Education Officer, anything to add to that?
Well, as our minister has indicated, sir, we are in an advanced stage of readiness, and we are very confident that we will be off to a very good start. This year is an extraordinary year for the Ministry of Education, Youth and Information by virtue of the fact that we are rolling out the new National Standards Curriculum. And so as early as the first week in August, we have been having training on the curriculum-related areas right across the island. Over 12,000 of our teachers have been trained, so you can understand that that is really a huge undertaking. Now, it's very critical because the curriculum will be rolled out in grades 1, 4, 7, 8, and 9. And the curriculum that is being rolled out will have implications for the assessments that will come in another 2 to 3 years. And so we had to make sure that we spend as much time as possible preparing the teachers. And of course, the training, the coaching, and the mentoring will also continue in September. In addition to that, there is now intensive focus on the provision of resources to support the curriculum, as well as to ensure that the teachers are doing their unit plans in accordance with the curriculum so that there will be no hiccups as it relates to commencing that process. As a result of this, our regional or back-to-school conferences that we would have had in July, we had to delay them, and so they are currently being held. One was held last week. We'll be having 3 next week, and 2 will actually be in September. But outside of this, we have sent out all the information in terms of guidelines. We have sent out information regarding the guidelines to parents re the procurement of additional supplementary books. We have done our survey in collaboration with the Consumer Affairs Commission in terms of the prices of books. And of course, we would have seen that there is at least a 4% increase. in the prices, but we are also confident that we have adequate books available. There were some concerns about books at the secondary level, and we have been advised by the Book Association that those have now been resolved, and so we do not expect that there will be any shortages. Our furniture distribution will continue into September, and that is just to ensure that we are also able to accommodate those students who turn up every year, register on September morning, that the schools would not have accounted for. So we are taking that into consideration. We are also working very closely with the Jamaica Police Constabulary Force to ensure that those areas, hotspots as we call them, that may be potential challenges, that we engage the communities and we watch these areas very closely to ensure that there are no roadblocks and that our students are not disadvantaged in any way. So far, sir, I think we are off to an excellent start, and we are not anticipating any challenges, but if they do come, we will be prepared.
You're prepared for them. You would notice that in the Vox Pop there was a lot of references to school book prices and so on. So that's a major issue of concern for parents. Tell me, at the secondary level, the book rental scheme covers only a small number of the books, right? At the primary level, there's a total sort of coverage for.
Well, the primary thing, and using the term core, all the key resources that are needed at primary are provided free of cost by the government. At the high school, the book rental scheme covers all subjects except literature, which, by the way, something I need to look at next year. I think it's probably your subject area, that the only subject that is not covered are literature books. But even listening to the Vox Pop, I think we not certain, and I'm picking up that it's not just the textbook that they may be referring to, but you're talking about notebooks.
Yes, and Atlas.
Atlas, those additional things. So all of these things do cost. Simple thing like geometry sets, rulers, pens, and so on. Those costs actually adds up. So when you talk about preparing for school, the government, by the way, doesn't provide for these supplies. So what we certainly need to communicate to the public, and I think principals themselves need to be aware that it really takes a lot of money to prepare each child for back to school. And so when the government puts in place programs that reduce the costs that parents are required to bear, schools ought not to go out of their ways to try and now create a new condition that further burdens the parents.
We're going to go into that in the other segment. But back to this matter of the secondary school, and you were saying that all the areas are covered aside from literature. One parent was telling me that her child, who is entering secondary school, was required to have 21 books, and only 6 of those books were covered by the book rental system.
21 what kind of books? We need evidence. That's why I'm saying we have to be very careful of these wild allegations.
What kind of?
Because I'm saying, granted, Dr. Mack, some schools might decide to do subjects of which we are not aware of. Right. So if it is that you decide to do robotics or animation as a subject, for example, or let's say you're doing Mandarin as a subject for the whole, or even Latin, then I don't think we would have those resources on the ground. And this is sometimes part of the problem that I think we as administrators face, because while you don't want to hamstrung schools, we have to have some sort of discussion in terms of core, because if every school decides to innovate and do new and different things, there's a cost involved, and we have to have some guidance. And this is where sometimes there's a pushback, because the ministry is about policy, and we have to protect the interests of all our people.
Absolutely.
So I'll be very curious about that report about 21 texts that are required.
And only 6.
But if I may interject, there are some unusual cases. For instance, I know of a case where a parent complained that the book rental room did not have sufficient supply. It would appear that she applied for the books late, the supplies run short.
Yes.
Not because of the school's fault. There are times when persons just do not return the books. And they may be asked to pay for the damaged or lost books, and they don't. So the schools could run short, and parents and children could be asked to supply those books.
Mr. Adam, I want to bring you in at this point. What is your word to parents? What are some of the things that they need to do to prepare the children for school, aside from buying books and uniforms and so on?
I think back to school this year is against many backgrounds. One is the threat of ongoing health threat, ZIGV. Hurricane, we're in hurricane season still. And so therefore, in addition to the normal back to school preparation, we need to be fully aware and keep on high alert those preparations that might encounter at schools that will contribute to the increase of any of those diseases that we have at this time. So therefore, parents must be fully aware on the announcements that have been provided, in this case by the Ministry of Health. Because if you're not healthy, you don't need those books, you need other treatments. So we want to make sure that you have healthy children going back to school. That is one that we want to ensure. The question of the books, I recall we were on a textbook committee that was established that spoke specifically to a core set of books. And if as a parent you want to go outside that, and I would say use colloquially top up there, then you can top up by purchasing those extra books. There are core sets of books. And Dr. Mack was part of that team that ensured that those books would be provided for, and you work with those core sets.
So the core books will be provided for under the book rental system.
A list was provided, we discussed it, it was agreed to by parents and principals, and we were on that committee, so that would have been distributed. Therefore, the question of how you purchase and gauge the purchase of your books. If you're going to use a book in April of next semester, please don't purchase the book now. Although parents will tell you that is when they get a little money, so they have to buy it and put it down. So there are different variants that some of them use to purchase. But the idea is really to purchase what you need now. Again, when we're in school, there are books that could have been hand-me-down, come straight down to your sister, but now the system has changed so much that a number of books are textbook-oriented, and you write in 5 lines. You use those texts, they are workbooks, and so you can hand them down. But there are still some core books that you can hand down. The Student Companion, which continues to be revised, the Junior Revised English, and those books that are continuously revised that you can still hand down. And of course, the book exchange. Many schools would have started a program. PTAs, book exchange. You go, you hand in a book, and you get a book based upon what year your child or children is leaving from or going into. And so that is why we ask parents to take extra care, especially those books that are not written into, take extra care in procuring them so that you can pass them on to somebody else in another school through whatever book program that is going to be established. And of course, Dr. Mack would have already spoken about the security arrangement. You need to extremely alert. Transportation is one concern that we want to see addressed, because you would have noticed that leading up to the holidays, a number of accidents occurred in some locations where children were involved. And we're going to ask parents to be extremely circumspect in the transportation that they send their children into. It's not just, no, my taxi man come from the home and want to eat a food. But you have to be extremely careful that sometimes the tires of the car are not as smooth as our Florida. And you know, to be careful.
Good advice. I want to break at this point. We have just the right panel to deal with the issues that you want answers to. This is a JIS special forum on education.
The discussion continues tomorrow. That's the end of our show. Keep the conversation going by joining us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, or send an email to jamaicamagazine@jis.gov.jm. We also invite you to visit our website, jis.gov.jm, and download our news app from the Google and Apple Play stores. I'm Adrian Atkinson. Thanks for watching.
This has been a production of the Jamaica Information Service, the voice of Jamaica.